Hi, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and today I'm going to do my first new release album review, and it will be for the album Lamentations by American Aquarium on New West Records. I got a week early or 2 weeks early copy. If you pre-ordered when they were before they started production or recording of the album, then you get it a little bit early. So I've had it since Friday and given it a couple of three listens. So I thought I would do a review on that. Now, if you're not familiar, American Aquarium is basically B.J. Barham or Barham, uh, the lyricist, uh, songwriter, uh, and singer, and his band. There's been a number of different configurations that make up American Aquarium, but B.J. Barham is the mainstay, and band members come and go over time. Now they were formed. B.J. is from, I believe it's Reedsville, North Carolina. He's from Piedmont part of North Carolina. Grew up in a small town there, and he went away to school to NC State in Raleigh. And in 2005, in his dorm room, he created uh, this band. And it's been going now for 15 years on the road, uh, pretty steady there. And they have 11 either albums or EPs. Some of them are studio, some are live, but I believe it's a total of 11 recordings available out there today. Probably the most well known of those is one called Burn, Flicker, Die, which was produced by Jason Isbell. And this was actually, I think, in 2015, I believe it came out. Maybe it was 2012. Uh, was burned out on the road, and they were struggling. He was struggling to make a living as a musician, and this was kind of going to be his last hurrah. And he was going to go back home and do something else. But they went into the studio with Isbell and produced this album, released this album, and it became his most popular album, and it kind of revitalized his career, and he hasn't looked back since. And I'm a latecomer to American Aquarium. I came across them about 3 or 4 years ago, probably, and have played catch up since then. They're based out of Raleigh, though they don't play the Raleigh area. It's not like a lot of bands that play in their base town and the clubs there and in the surrounding area over and over again. This band travels, and they do 200 or 300 shows a year. They're out in the Southwest, in Texas, and New Mexico, and Oklahoma, uh, in Colorado. They're in the Midwest, playing dates in Nebraska and Illinois and places like that. So they are a national act, if you will. And then they come back to Raleigh and play just a handful of dates a year in that area. But the genre, I guess this is what today we would refer to as Americana. Uh, Maybe alt country. When he was starting out, they probably were referring to it as alt country. Some people call it heartland rock. And you listen to his music, and you can tell he's got some of his influences. You can readily hear. There's a definitely a Springsteen influence in his music, and I hear other artists influence in his music as well. It's definitely country with a lot of steel guitar, and but he rocks out too. So we're going to look at his album Lamentations now. Now the origins of the album were him spending a week or two at home, just totally dedicated to writing a new batch of songs. I kind of kept up with that on I guess it was Instagram. I follow him. I guess it's on Instagram. It's either that or Twitter. I believe it's Instagram. And you know, he lives in one of the towns outside Raleigh, Wendell, and he and his wife, and he's got a young daughter. And he was, he announced this, yeah, I'm gonna spend some time writing here, and he came up with enough songs, and then he flew to L.A. to Dave's, what's it called? Dave's house or something like that, studio, or Dave's place studio. Got a great producer for this album, Shooter Jennings, and Jennings has produced a lot of the most well-regarded albums in that rootsy Americana alt country vein in the last you know 5 to 10 years, I guess you'd say. And spent 10 days in L.A. with his band recording this with Shooter Jennings producing. Trina Shoemaker mixed it and mastered it. Dave's room is the studio in Hollywood where they recorded it. Trina Shoemaker uh, mixed it at Dolphin Street Sound in Nashville, and misspoke because it's Peter Lyman that mixed and cut the recording at Infrasonic Sound in Mobile, Alabama. And the artwork, some nice artwork here, is by Tom Gene Webb. Did this artwork. Now this pre-order album is black. The first record sold with the after the pre-order, once it's released, going to be white, I believe, with this same thing here. It's a very nice album. Now I'm not real, I'm not crazy about colored vinyl. That's not, an attraction for me to buy a record at all. But this one comes in kind of, can you see that kind of a ice cream with strawberries in it look, I guess you'd say. One negative, if I've got to find a negative here, would be nowhere does it say side A or side 1 and side B. When the first time I put it on, I just had to totally guess, and each time I put it on, I have to totally guess. And I ended up playing side 2 first the first time, and I always like to start an album side 1, play it through, and then it comes with a poster with art for each of the songs. If I can open this up. There we go. See that? And some of the perks for, and then a lyric sheet with artwork for each song as well. Same artwork that was on the poster, I believe. And I will, to the credit of wherever they got this pressed, I didn't see where it was actually pressed. It came with that sleeve. Of course, I took it out of that sleeve and put it immediately in this. I always clean even new records because they're so trashy when you get them. The new records, it seems these days. This one was not, believe it or not. I did not clean it first. I put it directly onto the turntable, and it played through perfectly. No crackles, no pops, no particles, no paper, anything on the record or in the grooves or anything like that. So I did not clean this one. So hats off to wherever they got this one pressed. Good work on that one. Now it's signed. That was part of the perk of pre-ordering, and it also came with a letter from B.J. Barham, and he basically saying thank you. This is dated the 17th, and I got this like on the 22nd or 3rd, something like that. So almost immediately. He talks about the process of recording it and those sorts of things and who did what. And I already mentioned all that. It said, sadly, due to the chaos and travel restrictions of the COVID-19 pandemic, the band was not able to sign the record because the band members actually live in 4 different states. But that's all right. That's no big deal to me. He said, if you come to my show, bring the album. I'll make sure, do everything humanly possible to make sure every band member signs it. But I'm not crazy. I don't have to have signatures, autographs. But he did autograph this one, so that's nice because it was sent, directly to me. It's not like I bought it used somewhere or something. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the music. Now, the themes in American Aquarium's music, to me, they focused on. I think it's pretty much true with all his recordings, and definitely true with this one. Family, community, economic struggle, personal relationships, of course, things like guilt and regret, history, which ties into the other themes, resilience, let's see, so that tends to be the thing. And some songs are more songs generally about the state of society, the state of the economy, things like that, and some are very personal about individual relationships, and fairly common to see that, and that's a good mix, I think, of what you should get in good recordings. Now, songs include the opening track is called "Me Plus Mine," and in parentheses, Lamentations is the opening track, and it's a song about the downfall of society, the American dream, sense of hopelessness, struggle, being in this alone, just your community without it seems help from the politicians or the government or anything like that. But it paints a dreary picture. But then the second half of the song, or the last third of the song or so, there's no lyrics, and it's just instrumental. And to me, what I'm feeling from that instrumental conclusion, it builds up and builds up and builds up to a climax. I interpret that as saying, this is what's so bad, and these are the problems we have, but we're strong, and we're going to fight, and we're going to make it, either with you or despite you. A feeling of hope in all this would-be hopelessness. That's what I get from Me Plus Mine. I don't know if that's what they intended. Hats off to BJ and Shooter and the others, and engineer and everybody in the studio, because to me that they really pulled that off very well in this particular song. So I call that one of the societal songs. A couple of other societal songs, Before the Dogwood Blooms, and Bright Leaf and Burley. Now that's for folks that may not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but Bright Leaf is a curing method for tobacco, and Burley is a type of tobacco. Burley is grown in the mountains. They usually make cigars and chewing tobacco out of burley tobacco, and bright leaf tobacco is what they make cigarettes out of, and that's what they grow in central and eastern North Carolina and other places, of course, as well. And those other two songs offer a similar message as what you're getting from that Me Plus Mine. And let's see, and then to me, the best songs on here are the songs about personal relationships, and I'll highlight a few of those. My favorite 3 songs would be 6 Years Come September, and it's a relationship song that reveals its story in bits and pieces as best. I don't like when the song just lays everything out there for you, and doesn't leave anything for your imagination, and gives it all to you at one time. Bits and pieces of, of a story are revealed, and you have to fill in all the blanks yourself. And 6 years come September, and it is a highlight to me. And the day I learned to lie to you, and I'm gonna do a needle drop on the day I learned to lie to you.
I told you the day we met that I'd never make you regret choosing me to stand by your side. I swear I had an honest plan to make myself an honest man, but the ones best laid often go awry. And I know good and well that I'm going straight to hell for all the things I put you through. Yes, my biggest regret in life, the thing that keeps me up at night, the day I learned how to lie to you. See, I've long set fire to things I love, told myself I don't deserve to ever have and hold that kind of glory. But I'll come back in a couple of days to search the ash and memories and start painting my side of the story. Straight to hell for all the things I put you through. Yes, my biggest regret in life, the thing that keeps me up at night, the day I learned how to lie to you.
Okay, after hearing that song, each time I heard it, I thought about, back in the 80s, if somebody had recorded this, who would have recorded this? I can imagine The Day I Learned to Lie to You would have been an excellent Mo Bandy song. He could have recorded that song and done amazing things with it. Conway Twitty could have done a really good job with that song as well. Uh, but really nice, very very country song to me. Another one of those personal relationship songs is "How Wicked I Am." Is that how it's called? "How Wicked I Am." I may have the title. Let's see. "How Wicked I Was." Yes, "How Wicked I Was." It's another outstanding song. And then you got a topical song, one that more about the current events of today. Topical songs, they often don't hold up well over time, but this one may well. You never want a song that touches on politics to be too in your face and too straightforward. Uh, there are better ways to say it than to make it yelling out a catchphrase or something. And he straddles the line of that pretty good here. It's topical, but he's not beating you over the head with it. But it's a commentary song, and he calls my generation out in this song. And when you get hit like that, not that I necessarily agree with what he says my generation says, but generally, he's talking about, folks in their 60s and 70s, I guess. And rather than become defensive when someone does that, I think that's time for one to be reflective and to reflect and realize that a 30 something or 20 something person has a whole different set of life experiences to look at something that that you've looked at and you've analyzed and you've rectified or been in conflict in your own mind for 60 years with. Don't get angry. Try to put yourself in that the protagonist in the song's shoes. Try to see it from their point of view, and even if you may not be completely comfortable with it, hey, art's supposed to make you a little uncomfortable, right? So that song, A Better South, that song is called. And so, whenever you get something that might rile you up a little bit, that's time to become reflective. Okay, so I don't know if it'll hold up over time, but it's there, and it's very topical today. And he's got some mid-tempo, little up-tempo couple of songs on here that are really very good. Probably let's see, The Long Haul is an excellent song. It's about sobriety and it's about relationships, and but it's taken from a more of an uplifting, positive perspective than some of the other songs. And then I'm going to do a needle drop on The Luckier You Get, which is a catchy little song that's got a really good up tempo feel to it and a really really good message. So here's a needle drop on The Luckier You Get.
The harder you work, the luckier you get. The more you get done, boy, the less you regret. Write it down so you never forget. The harder you work, the luckier you get. When I turned 13, my old man sat me down. Said, boy, there's only two ways out of this town. That Greyhound bus that's boot camp bound. Put your nose in a book and keep your ear to the ground. So I set off to college, but it weren't for me. So I got a guitar and started playing for free. For a couple hundred bad ones, still I had two or three. I thought was good enough, folks might pay me to sing. The harder you work, the luckier you get. The more you get it done, boy, the less you regret. Write it down so you never forget. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed those that needle drop and the one I did before. Hopefully they won't become blocked on here. Um, the sound of the record, they really did a good job as far as I can tell. Now, I'm no musical expert other than I love music, so I guess that makes me an expert in one way, in my own mind maybe. But the mix sounds really good to me. I can hear the instruments in proper proportion, I believe. Nothing seems to be muffled or drowned out or pushed too far into the background. Uh, you can hear the percussion in there. I like to hear a little of that. The BJ is a good singer. He's not some he doesn't have a huge range, but he does an excellent job in telling stories in his songs. He's got a good voice, not a great voice, but a good voice, and only he, I think, can best tell the stories of his song that he writes. And so he does a good job. And but I especially want to single out the guy playing keyboards, Rhett Hoffman or Huffman. Uh, he does all kinds of keyboards, the B3 and piano, and he does a mini Moog, which I think is what they're using in that like last minute or two of the Me Plus Mine Lamentations song they're talking about that was the instrumental. Uh, I guess that must be where he's using that mini Moog, and it works very well in that situation. Uh, Neil Jones on the pedal steel guitar, really some nice, very tasty pedal steel work. Ryan Van Fleet's on the drums. Shane Bofer electric guitar, and do some nice solos. The solos aren't overpowering. They don't overwhelm the songs. They're all in all, I'd say the musicians in this album are very tasteful. The arrangements are very good. The overall sound of this album is excellent, and so I'd say BJ Shooter uh, band guys that mixed it, engineered it, everybody, you know, put out an excellent product, and it just goes to show you don't have to spend 6 months in the studio creating great music. They did this in about 10 days. Now I don't know how long they spent mixing it, mastering it, and things like that, but they were in the studio for about 10 days, so they got at least maybe a song a day done in the studio. So the album is called Lamentations, which means great grief or sorrow, and it's by American Aquarium. So I highly recommend this album if you're into alt country or Americana, if you like country music, if you like rootsy rock music. This will be good for if you if your tastes don't really run in that direction, but you're ready for something different. Here it is, American Aquarium, Lamentations. Everybody, be safe out there. This pandemic isn't over. We've got to look after each other, and we've got to be safe. Okay, be safe. Remember, be kind to your neighbors, because we're all neighbors. Okay, take care.